Hmm. That's a good question. And I mean, I'm actually kind of embarrassed about this a little bit, but I tell people all the time, like, I love that boy so much. Sometimes I wish I had never met him. To like, to know that level of affection, like that kind of unbridled joy. I don't know. Sometimes I think my life would have been better if I didn't know. I wouldn't have been searching for that for the rest of my life. I miss him. How you doing? I'm all right. No, I'm fine. I got an appointment in 10 minutes, so what's going on? Yeah, well, she called me like a half hour ago, so here I am. So what's going on? I feel like something's wrong. Yeah. All right, so we went through all the paperwork together. She was in the office with me when I called the insurance company. Everything was cool. No, everything was approved. What are you talking about? She called you right afterwards. I was in the office with her. This was over a month ago. What are you talking about? It's 8 o'clock. Yo, that's 12 hours from now. Wait, whoa, 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 hold up for a second. Are you serious now? No, this is a mistake. I'm not ready. No, I'm not sure about that. Why are you like, how is this happening now? It took you 5 weeks to figure this out. This is obviously a mistake. There's got to be, can you give me like a week? Yeah, I understand. Yo, you're just leaving, that's it? Yo, I wanted to jump off a fucking bridge. So this is the end for me. And I mean, I have read you this letter so many times in the last 15 years. And not just this letter. Like, I just put the last one in this bottle. Because at this point, I could just speak to you from my heart. You know, this was supposed to be at the George Washington Bridge. That's how I envisioned it, planned it. and I was going to toss it off the bridge into the Hudson River, and it was going to float down Manhattan, go out past the Brooklyn Bridge and out to the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, up to New York Harbor, and then way out to the Atlantic Ocean. I pictured it maybe, you know, winding up in some other country, some faraway place. And I figured, you know, it'd be like the movies, you know, like somebody would open it up and find a letter, and maybe they would get something out of it that I never got. I mean, I never got anything out of it. So I'm here instead because, you know, this is the kind of place that people come to when they don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. You know, I've taken so many things for granted. I mean, I actually think life is like the most courageous act, you know? Like you wake up in the morning and get out of bed and you go into the bathroom and brush your teeth and you eat breakfast and you run if you're me, or stretch or whatever, and you eat breakfast and you take a shower and you get out and you do what you're supposed to do for the day. You know, whatever your mission is, or, you know, your purpose, or whatever you do. And, you know, I think it takes a lot of fucking courage to do that every day. And I also think there's a fine line between being courageous and I guess I feel like being a coward. And I've been feeling like that lately. Like, I just don't know. You know, I get up and I don't even know what to do. Where to go, who to see, like nothing. You know, I just don't care. There's that really fine line between courage and cowardice, life and death, living and dying. And I think I've been just like dying. So here I am. Here we are. And I'm sitting here acting like I'm actually talking to you. How stupid is that? But it's funny because that's as much as I've talked to you in the real world. I'm done.
I don't know. I mean, I just got out of there. You know, it just didn't really, I don't know, just things didn't happen the way I wanted them to happen or expected them to happen or whatever. And that's how I felt. So I took off. I don't really feel like I have to explain it to you, but I went home. I don't know. Like, what was I thinking in that moment? I thought about my mother. I thought about my father. And my grandmother. I mean, I'm not somebody who has any kind of faith in his life or anything like that. Like, I don't have religion but I do remember thinking, like, if I do this maybe I'll see them again. I felt like an embryo, you know, like I felt like I was inside of a uterus, like I was just completely, obviously surrounded in water, and I couldn't feel the ground anymore, and I was just, I had my eyes closed, and I was just feeling myself being pulled out, like drawn out, and I felt like I was being drawn to the end of the world, like this was it, like I felt it, and I wasn't scared, I didn't feel afraid, and then all of a sudden I felt like this weird, I don't know, it felt like a claw or something, in my eye. It was weird, it was pulling at me, and so obviously I thought it was some kind of big fish or something like that, and I was just like, you know what, I'm not resisting, I'm just going to let this happen if this is the way it's going to happen, and I was, I guess, a little afraid that, maybe a shark, but, sharks don't have claws, but I don't know, I just felt a little freaked out, and then it's pulling at me, and I feel it pulling in my mouth and my shoulder, and so then I open my eyes, and I see like a silhouette. It was really weird. I'm like, is this like God or some shit like that? Like, what the fuck am I looking at? And I see a silhouette, and it looks like a fucking mermaid. It sounds ridiculous, but it looks like a mermaid, and then I open my mouth, I start swallowing water, and I'm choking, and, it's just, I'm like, what is going on, and then all of a sudden I feel myself being pulled back, and then I realize that this is a person. That somebody had jumped in, was pulling me back, and so I felt like an asshole, you know what I mean? Like somebody jumped in there after me to save my life, I guess, when I didn't want that. They pull me out, and I'm just laying there, and I look up and I see this woman, and she is screaming at me, like just screaming, like, Dios! And I'm just kind of in shock, and I'm coughing, and I can't really breathe at this point, and I just stood up, and then she just looked at me, and she was staring at me, just like quiet. She got really calm, and I'm just standing there, and we're looking at each other, and then she lunged at me and just grabbed me, which I don't really generally feel comfortable with that, but I don't know, it was weird. She just held me. Like she was hugging me, I thought one thing was happening, and then this was happening, and she just like held on to me really close. And then she just let me go, and she was gone. And that was it, like, I don't know. I just went home. No, actually, you know what? I thought there was a baby store when I was a kid. No, seriously. No, I'm not joking around. I thought there was a baby store. Like, I thought people walked into a store and bought their baby, you know, or bought twins or got 2 for 1 or, you know, I don't know. Like, that's what I thought. But then you know, I don't know, I was like 6 or 7 years old and I realized how babies were actually born, you know? And then I'm like realizing that I was like birthed out of a human being's body, like another human being who was not my mother, but my biological mother. Like, the whole thing was like totally confusing. And then for my whole life, I'm just kind of wondering, like, how did that go that day? You know what I mean? Like, I came out of this person's body who was my person, like my biological mother. And so, like, did they hand me to her? Like, did she hold me, or did we have a moment or something like that? Or did somebody maybe hold up a sheet so she couldn't look at me, and then they like rushed me out of the room and gave me to somebody else? Or, you know, I was in a room filled with like strange babies, or I was sitting there by myself just crying, and like, I'm like, how the fuck did that go? So I remember, like, I think it was the first organized sports team that I was on when I was a kid. You know, I was like 6 years old. I was on this football team, right? And I remember my father showed up, you know? So I look across the field and there he is, you know, with the camera around his neck. And so I just take off and I start running towards him, and he looks all happy and proud, like, oh my God, my son is coming to me. And, you know, I get right up to him and he looks at me and he spreads his arms out and I say, don't take my picture. You know, just sit here. Like, I don't want one of those fathers with a camera hanging around his neck, like watching me, you know, following me around, taking pictures. Don't embarrass me. Just be there. Yeah, so I remember I was like hammering my mother, right? Like, I was always like really hard on her, you know, but for this, you know, I'm like this has been going on for my whole life. And I'm like, are you really this petty? Like, this stubborn, like ridiculous, like fucking stupid? You know, I did actually call her stupid, you know, and you know, she never responded. Like, she never said a word. You know, I'm like, really? You're not talking to your best friend because she didn't come to my bar mitzvah? Like, I didn't even want a bar mitzvah. Like, we're barely even Jewish. Like, it's ridiculous. You know, my mother never said a word, never responded. And then finally, all of a sudden, after like 35 years of this, she's like, look. And I'm like, whoa. Because, you know, every time my mother was about to say something important, she started with look. So I knew something was up. So I just sat there and listened. I was like, what? My mother says to me, it's not that she didn't come. I was like, okay. And it's not that she didn't bring you a gift. I'm like, okay, whatever. So what was it? She goes, Elaine always made a big deal out of all the other children's events. You know, bar mitzvahs, graduations, sweet 16s, whatever. Always made a big deal. Other people's birthdays. I'm like, okay, so whatever. She goes, let me finish. She always made a big deal out of all the other kids' events. And nobody was going to treat you any differently just because you were adopted. Seriously, you could not get off that bridge if you fucking tried. Like, impossible. Barbed wire, you know, all kinds of barricades, fencing, like all cops everywhere, like so much shit. Like, you could not do it no matter how hard you tried. I'm telling you, like, it was hilarious. It actually made me laugh. Like, I got there and, you know, I'm all serious and I'm all focused and getting ready to do this thing, and I get there and it's like, I can't even get off this bridge. Like, I can't even get up to it. I can't even walk on that side, you know? And I got this whole thing, you know, I'm like, I got to look at Lower Manhattan, and, you know, it's like, I'm trying to look downtown, and the only way to get on the bridge now is on the uptown side, and all you can see is like Jersey and Yonkers, and who wants to do that? You know, like, is that the way to do it? Like, it's ridiculous, like fucking stupid. I had lost everything and everybody. I had lost all of it. And I remember sitting on the floor of this apartment, and all I could do was write. Like, I would get up in the morning and run until my feet were bleeding in the winter. And then I would just come home and write. Like, all I could do was write, you know, and I was writing poetry. Like, I had never written a poem in my life, and suddenly I'm writing this stuff that I don't even know where these words are coming from. And I'm like, I didn't even know what was going on. It was just spilling out of me. And at that time I was going to these clubs and, you know, like these open mics, you know, because I would like write a little bit and then I felt like I needed to like get on a stage and just spew it to people. And I'd get up on these stages and I was like, you know, screaming and crying, and you know, the audience was just like, whoa, what is going on? You know, like I had actually had this incredibly beautiful connection with an audience. I didn't know anybody in these clubs. I knew nobody. I would just go there, do it, go home, all alone, by myself, solitary. And I remember one night I ran into a friend of mine at one of these places, and, you know, she listened and she walks up to me and she says to me, you know, Rock, I think the idea is to write yourself out of being depressed, you know. And she was laughing. I was like, nah, you know, I'm trying to write myself as deep in as possible. Like, I'm literally trying to write myself to death. You keep asking me the same question. Yeah, every time I talk about one of the places, you're like, whoa, what was running through your mind? Like, what did you think? What were you thinking about? What were you feeling? I don't think you really give a fuck what I was thinking or feeling. Yo, you have me leaving here in 11 hours, okay? Like, you got me walking out the door at 8 o'clock in the morning. You even thinking about what I might be thinking then or what I might be feeling then? Like, are you worried about where I might go, what I might do? Yeah, whatever. You know what? I'm glad it's the last day. I'm glad it's the last one. I'm ready to go. Let that mean whatever you want it to mean. I am ready to go. Yeah, well, I mean, I could definitely have seen the bottom of the river that night. No, it was different. It was different. It was like, I mean, that's where I saw it happening. I mean, that's where I planned it. You know, that was what was supposed to happen. I don't know. There were too many people, I think, or I mean, that was my favorite place in the world. It was my favorite place in the world. Okay. So when I think I was like 5. Yeah, I think it was about 5 when this happened, but I was uptown with my father for some reason, and we were walking by the George Washington Bridge. My father said to me, that bridge, like on the other side, is different. It's like, it's a whole different, it's not New York. It's a whole different state. It's a whole different world. And I was like, whoa. You know, like when he said that to me, it was like my head exploded, you know? My little kid head, just my brain just, you know, it was like a galaxy of stars all of a sudden, like, fireworks. I was like, wow, if I can get over that bridge, I can meet all these other people and I can see all these other places and I could be anything, you know, I could do anything. And you see what my father didn't realize, you know, he didn't even know what he did. Because what I was thinking when he said that to me was that if I could get over that bridge, I could find my father. I mean, not, you know, like I don't even know what to call him, you know, because I loved my father. You know, see, that's why my head was so fucking twisted. Like, my father, you know, the guy who raised me, like, I loved him, you know, even though I didn't show it or whatever. But I had a father who made me. And I had all these questions that nobody can answer, and I couldn't really talk about it, you know, and I felt guilty about it all the time. And I just, you know, like, I had nobody I could talk to about what I was feeling. And I felt like if I could get over that bridge, I could find him. You know, I'm gonna get over there and I'm gonna see people who maybe know me. You know, I'm gonna find people who look like me, who walk like me. Like, you have shit that I don't have. You know, like, there's nothing like blood, right? Like, I really thought that. You know, like I was... But, you know, I grew up and, you know, I went over that bridge a bunch of times and it was just fucking New Jersey. Like, it was not anything like what I thought, you know what I mean? Like, there was nobody there. There was nobody who was gonna be like me. There was nobody who looked like me, nobody who talked like me, or it was nobody, you know, nobody who could answer any of my questions, who could, you know, and I had so much fucking anxiety about it too, because I was like, what, you know, are they okay? You know, these people who made me, who like created my life, like, did something happen to them? Did they die and they had to give me away or send me somewhere, or are they, you know, did somebody steal me, or what happened to them? Like, I walked around with all this fucking anxiety all the time, my whole life, you know, until I was grown. To this fucking day. You know, I was getting no answers, you know, like, it wasn't going to happen. And I don't know exactly when it was, but when I actually realized that, you know, when I knew that this was the end of that dream, because that's what it was. It was like a dream. Something fractured inside of me, you know, like something broke. You know, I was like different. You know, I think I lost the ability to have hope or faith, you know, like I didn't believe in anything anymore. You know, I didn't know anything. You know, that's what I always felt like I don't know anything. Nothing is for sure, you know, for certain. There's nothing I can count on, you know. I was obsessed with bridges my whole life because of that, you know. Every time I saw a bridge, I was like, it just made me feel like there's something for me waiting, you know, there's something there that's going to make all of this feel better. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to learn what happened. I'm going to know where I'm from, who I am, like all of this stuff, you know? But then I realized that was not going to happen. And so, I don't know. Anyway, that day I just like, you know, there are all these people out there. I'm not trying to like create a scene. I'm not trying to involve anybody else. I'm not trying to ruin anybody else's life to see such a thing, like such a horrible tragedy. Like, I'm not trying to do that. You know, I'm not trying to involve anybody else. This is mine. This is my problem, my issue. So I don't know, you know, I just kept walking. I got to this park, you know, and now I'm in New Jersey. You know, this place that when I was a little boy, I thought, you know, everything was going to change, you know, everything was going to be okay. I was just sitting there looking at my bridge and my beautiful city, you know. Feeling completely lost. Hey, how you doing? I got a question. So I was up there, I don't know, like about probably 6 weeks ago or something like that. And I saw this dog. No, I didn't even come into the office or anything like that. No. Anyway, I walked, you know those cages on the outside, those long cages in the back? Yeah. So he was like this white kind of pit bull, white Labrador mix. It was all the way at the end. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, I was just wondering if he was still there. Oh. Was he adopted out? You can't give me that information? Because of his privacy?
No, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just. No, I understand. Can I give you my number? Okay. All right, 212-316-9236. Rock. Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, thanks so much. All right, bye-bye. Hold on. Don't hang. Are you still there? Yeah, okay. Um, I know you can't tell me if he was adopted or whatever, but are you guys a kill shelter? Okay. All right. No, I was just curious. Yeah, call me. Feel free. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye bye. I searched for my biological mother for like my entire adult life. Like, seriously, it consumed me. Like, it became everything. My whole existence. Years and years. Going to the New York Public Library, making all my art about it, like everything. Became like my identity. Funny, searching for my identity. It became who I was. And I met her cousin, her first cousin. I met these people that she worked with like the last 25 years of her life. But, both people had like completely different perspectives on who she was. So clearly, nobody really knew who the fuck she was at all. And I searched for my biological father. And who the hell knows who he was? Like, nobody knows anything about him. But the information that I was given, I came to like a conclusion about him. Like I created this story in my head of who he was and what he was about and the relationship between him and my mother. And, I made like this horrific person, like this fucking monster. And then I felt like a complete asshole for doing that because, like, I don't even know this guy. Like, why am I gonna do that? Like, I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me. Like, I don't really know anything. But, like, it's fine. Like, why should I feel like an asshole about anything? But I felt so bad, like, and I know nothing about him, and I'm never gonna know anything about him. And then finally I get my like original birth certificate, right? I've been looking for this thing my whole life. Like, I'm fighting for this document that's mine, basically. Like, do you have to fight for yours? I'm asking you a question. Like, do you have to fight for yours? No. So I finally get it, right? The original.
You know, not an altered certificate like I had, like an adoption certificate. This was like the real deal. And what do I see? I see pen markings all over, things crossed out, people's initials everywhere, and like all these names. Like I had 4 other names. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like all these questions, like more questions than answers. Nobody to answer the questions. Pissed me the fuck off. Like I wish I had never seen it. Because it just made me more confused, you know, it made me feel less, like less that grounded or centered or whatever. I can't even think of a word for it because it feels that nothing to me. And then my parents, you know, my mother and my father, the people who took me out of foster care, you know, who eventually adopted me. I was in 3 foster homes before I met them. They took me out. They fucking gave me a permanent home. They saved my life. They were nothing but loving to me, you know. Were they perfect? Like, who the fuck is perfect, right? They were not perfect, but they were nothing but loving. They did their best. And I treated them like shit. I mean, I guess I felt like, you know, they were keeping things from me. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just like the angriest motherfucker in the world. As a kid, 5 years old, you know, telling my father he's a racist. You know, I didn't even speak to my mother. Like, I had the worst relationship. And it was me. I treated them like fucking shit. And I carry that with me all the time. You know, I feel guilty about that. And I'm so grateful that I got to take care of both of them before they died, you know, like that was an honor for me, you know, like, and they did nothing but forgive me. And what fucking difference would it have made if I had met the people who made me, you know, like the woman who birthed me, the guy who gave his sperm to her. Like, what would it have done for my life? Like, how would anything have changed? You know what I'm saying? Like, what difference would it make? Like, who gives a shit? Like, I spent all this time and all this attention, and I gave so much of my life to this. You know, I made it my work. I made it my like, everybody knows me as, you know, the adopted guy. You know, the guy who came out of foster care. Who gives a fuck? It means nothing. Like, what was I looking for, you know? Why was I putting all this effort in, you know? To what end? What was it going to do for me? For anybody? What kind of contribution is that? So yeah, you know, after all that, after a whole lifetime of that, you wonder why I get to the point where I'm like fucking done, finished? Like, that's it. You know, where do I go from here? Who the fuck am I? You know, what am I? What kind of meaning does my life have? Hello? Yep. Yeah, a puppy? I can't get up there. Yeah, I can't get up there. You'll bring them to me? No, I know. I mean, I called. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I'm sure. You know what? Can I call you back? No, I promise I'll call you back. Yeah.
Yo, Dad. That's what I would have called you, right? Although, you know, I did have somebody who I could call Dad. And I think you probably would have liked him. So I almost didn't make it back here today. But here I am. And here we are. And I don't know. You know, I just figured like maybe somebody will get something out of this. You know? Like, you never know. But, you know, I just want to let you know that I'm done with all this now. Like, you know, I have a lot to do. And so I'm saying goodbye for good now.